I took a digital tour and I found out that there's barely any public infractions in the country because of, I guess, how things are run over there, but I guess it has its own inefficiencies, and we'll speak about those a little bit later on. I'm trying to finish this message. But look at other nations in Asia that are not as catering to their citizens, as for instance, China, South Korea, and Japan. The people there live like third world rodents in Africa, in India, in the Middle East. So, I mean, that is just evidence of the fact that the problem is not the race, the person, the genes within our bones, within our bloodstream. The issue is how we're treated. Because white people living in slums, and so therefore also defecating where they eat, it's because of the poverty that they're enduring and the disregard of their persons in those slums. Grab any race and treat them the way that blacks in South Africa are treated, and they will also urinate in the ocean at Durban Beach. Yes, Penny Sparrow. Your people too can urinate in the ocean if they're endured through enough apathy by those structures that are supposed to take care of them in a nation rich with minerals, with salt and honey, with milk, like Canaan, before God's people took it. A land flowing with milk and honey is irrelevant which Africa is, if at all that honey is concentrated amidst a crazy batch of ritualists, government officials, everybody peddling their trash at the expense of their countrymen. So if you like South Africa enough to stay and disquiet yourself with that tight brassiere, you must love it enough to be candid with black people. And like I said, Donald Trump enabled your discourse. Though people might carry on calling Donald Trump, what do you call this thing? Racist. Nobody cares, because much of what he said about South Africa is right. And South Africans are waiting for 20 years to progress for it to be clear that he was right. However, there are some of us that agree that he's right. Because remember I said that how do you destroy a country? Hate your foreigners from among you, and let foreigners trample on your feet, taking over your culture. Or let foreigners take over and trample over your culture. But also one that I guess I missed out, but I'm kind of hoping that it was implied that, of course, this is what's going to salvage a country. Take care of your citizens. If you don't take care of your citizens, your country will fall. Foreigners will take it over. If you don't maintain your national heritage, it'll also fall. And if you don't love foreigners from among you, it will also fall. So love foreigners insofar as they're legal. Don't let them trample on your national heritage, and love your citizens. If you can't get these things right, as a nation, you will at some point crash and burn. So therefore, randos over there in South Africa that are taking your children out from all these schools. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like it. This is the Rainbow Nation, and y'all, white people, are not even leaving. You're sticking around, and yet you think that you can live in a silo in a country that's full of black people. Maybe you accommodate coloreds and Indians, but they also are a minority in comparison to blacks. We will by far always outnumber any other single demographic in this country because we are a black country and we keep on having babies. So you're never ever going to have more than us. So you can never ever isolate yourself from the black issue, the black problem. If you want to stay here because you have proven that you want to stay with your tight brassiere and the double boob and everything, if you want to stay, baby, you got to fix it. You got to make it habitable. You got to make it feasible. It's not like in the beginning of apartheid, not beginning of apartheid, but in the beginning of the end of apartheid and the beginning of the new democracy, the new South Africa. You showed that you were willing to accommodate integration because our schools were full of white chicks and dudes, and they were diverse. But because of just malignment and mismanagement of the country by the leadership, you took your children out of schools thinking that's the solution. It wasn't the solution. So you showed that you can allow your children that you love with your heart, mind, and body and soul to attend a school where there are a whole bunch of black kids over there. You showed that you can live with black people enough to trust them with your children in schools, to trust them with having black friends in schools. You showed that you can do it. But then when the black government dropped the ball and black people ended up essentially reacting to the fact that their bodies are covered with hives since we're not getting enough medical care from our government, you then decided to pull out your kids from schools. Where are you going to go? This country is not so big as to accommodate the little silos in which you're hiding that are crazy expensive. You cannot. Listen, Cape independence, while it might be a feasible thing that could happen, is not ideal, and neither do I want it. How in the world are you going to give the Cape independence from South Africa when that is where Nelson Mandela grew up? The guy is Xhosa, and he's from Port Elizabeth. He's from the Xhosa regions that are full of ocean and beach. I don't know where exactly he's from, but I know that he's from there. You can't separate the country from the Cape and make it independent without severing quite a heavy, haughty, significant. Again, if you destroy your nation's heritage, you in yourself can just basically start counting down goodbye to your nation. If you get rid of national identity, which Nelson Mandela is pivotal to, I don't think he was the best of men. I'm not a big fan. But there is no defining South Africa without Mandela and people like him. And some of them, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, etc. So if you give the Cape independence and make that a different country, you essentially take Mandela out of South Africa. And you cannot take Nelson Mandela out of South Africa without significantly changing the nation's history and then enduring a most cataclysmic civil war, which I think you're still going to endure anyway, like it or not. I mean, unless you repent. But what are the odds that South Africa is going to endure a Nineveh type epiphany? We don't know. We don't know. Listen, we have no clue. So white people, they need to talk, is what I'm getting at. And bold-facedly. Even if you face getting egged in the mall or even killed. Because that is just the nature of struggle. There are casualties at war. There are soldiers that fall for a cause, a struggle. And if you must be a soldier that must fall, because some angry EFF mongrel, Oga Julius Malema, they keeps on saying kill the boy, kill the farmer, decided to shoot you dead in the mall as you were buying groceries for what you said on social media. And so being an activist for your country, be like Biko baby and go in the ground. But the blood of that martyrdom is the seed of the South African recovery or restoration. With every revolution and every transformation of a country, there will be casualties. So you will get killed in the streets. You will get called racist. You will be mobbed. But if you love it, not if you love the country, you love it. Duh, you're staying, I'm not. You love it, so fight. Otherwise, you're gonna keep on squeezing yourselves in little cracks of walls, moving to little shongololo corners, hibernating like you're a bear in winter or whatever. You will keep hibernating in pockets of the country, and they will become increasingly inhospitable for you. Until now, finally, like with great reluctance and apprehension, you will finally go to Australia, like Trevor Noah out just speculated in his jokes back in the day. You will finally leave, but you will have held on for dear life. I know what it's like to hold on to a country for dear life and finally leave because you will no longer have anywhere to breathe. If you want to be like me and end up living in a homogenous society full of Asian people that are going to stare at you in a train until you get off, but this is like a lesser evil than where you're coming from. My darlings, you will have, I guess, created for yourself a climate of no complaint, just hibernation like a bear. Look at you go. Hey, you be out just storing food in your body or whatever so that you can be dead for a cool 6 months of the year. You will hibernate in corners of this country until you realize that there is no way to hide anymore. Climate change has out your melted ice caps, and now it's no longer cold in winter, so you're gonna have to stay alive all year long and hunt. And when then you have to stay alive awake all year long and hunt, my darling, it gets a little bit taxing to keep on hunting, doesn't it? If you can't store food, if you can't save money, if you can't build generational wealth, if you can't do any of that, if you can't really hibernate anymore, you're gonna go to Australia. But it would have taken you how long? With that tight bra and the double boob. How long? It would have taken you a cool minute. I have had a whole bunch of white people stand back at the most inappropriate mistreatment of my person by crazy black men that felt entitled to me with their crazy polygamy. I mean, there are nations in this world that they would never ever even so much as cogitate upon the mere idea of polygamy as a whole feasible structure in those nations. There is a woman whose husband went to Africa in the UK, went to Africa to go and take a second wife, where they allowed him to do this thing. When he came back, in Lahore, the citizenship was held by his wife to the UK. That woman had divorced him, renounced him, and his citizenship, seeing as they were not married long enough, not viable anymore. And so the guy had to now pack up his bags and go back to where it is that he came from, because he thought that he could go and take a second wife, being an African man and everything, in Africa, and come and be an affront to a UK citizen, out here living a Western lifestyle as a black woman, however, married to a man from Africa. She kicked him out of her country because there are laws in certain countries, bigamy. It's called bigamy, where you, upon being married, decide to go and take another wife. It's not allowed in certain countries. Bigamy is not allowed. So I don't know how the UK is faring with the excruciating polygamy amidst Islamic marriages. Are you gonna then, they're losing sight of their own culture. They're accommodating Islam, and they're full of polygamy too, like black people. So what goes then for your bigamy laws? Are the Muslims covered under freedom of religion? Is that what's going on? And also you've got brazen audacity there in the United Kingdom to come up with laws covering only Muslims while all other religions don't get that same coverage, whereas you are originally a Christian country. So I wonder what's going on with your bigamy laws. But the lady in the UK out here kicks that bugger to the curb for taking a second wife. The only way that you can protect women like me from crazy polygamists, I mean, the way that this nation is so bizarre. There is a show on Netflix at present that was advertised on YouTube called The Polygamist. Only in a nation where that stuff is allowed are you going to have a television show with that kind of bizarre title being a thing for us to consume as entertainment, and so therefore us be nicely influenced by it. If you want to get rid of polygamy, if you want to get rid of abuse against black women in the country, you will advocate against polygamy, because I'm telling you right now, 8 out of 10 black women hate it. So you've already got that majority in your pocket. Coloreds won't stand for it. Muslims in this country are gentrified enough to not still be out here doing that. Muslims in this country, or Indians in this country, are too gentrified to go out like that, and they tend to have only one wife. They're westernized, and barely ever are Indians in this country still getting arranged marriage. You only find that where they come from, India. But the ones that have been gentrified by living in South Africa all their lives take one wife, and even then it's the girl that they've loved from youth, or the one that they met last week and they fell in love. They are entering into love marriages. So even the Indians, I would go so far as to say most of the men over there and most of the women over there would also be against polygamy. This here polygamous thing is such a gnarly disease, held fast to by only a small percentage of people who, however, unfortunately run us all, that a couple of years ago I found out from a video of one woman in this country who is quite a lofty woman. She's quite hefty. I don't know what she does exactly, but I think she is within the legal profession. And she was lamenting at some, it looked like a round table, like some kind of a symposium, or maybe some lamentation space where she was complaining at this particular place that why under heaven are you trying to infiltrate customary polygamy in the customary law system? Not customary, but common. In other words, they wanted to give married men under the common law permission to marry a second wife in the common law because of the onerous amount of tax that one has to endure to take a second wife under customary law. Should they make a decision to do that, they wanted to give black men leg room to puzzle their wives with whom they're married in the common law with, I want to refile now for a wife, oh lerato, and have the guy not have to get a divorce from his wife and then marry under the customary law his wife, the first wife, and then take the side chick, because that's exactly what she is, that now is going to be fronting as a second wife. They wanted to make it easy for black men to take second wives, even though their original marriage was in the common law, where it's only one woman, one man. One woman, one man. Yeah. Now they've incorporated gays and everything into this marriage agenda, so I don't know how that one works. Is there polygamy amidst gays too, where they can take as many spouses as they want? I don't know. One man, or one woman, whatever. There are all these perversions, but the original thing was one man, one woman, and in order for you to marry somebody else, you have to divorce this woman and then take your second wife. They wanted to get rid of all that red tape and all that bureaucracy. They wanted to just cut that middleman out and say, men, you're getting married in the common law, we understand. But should you and your wife agree? And again, they say you and your wife because this is biased against women. Because ain't no woman married to a man in the common law gonna be out here gladly allowing herself to have some side chick just disrespect her and come into the picture. So while that particular tabled legislation might say, should you and your wife agree that you are happy to bring on board a second wife, you don't have to divorce under the common law and go through that whole rigorous divorce procedure. It's so taxing. And then only marry under the customary law your wife again, your first wife again, and then this time around you can take as many extra wives as you want. They just wanted to make it easy for even men that were married in the common law to disrespect their wives with, I want a second wife. That is the direction that this country is taking. And now, if at all they're going to out here mar our sacred institutions like that one of marriage between one man, one woman, covered and protected by the law, if they want to mar it with all their polygamy, acting like the descendants of Cain, they're not only coming at black women, don't you see? They're coming at the rest of y'all and your ethos and what you stand on what values you all stand on as South Africans. Oh, so it means that all of our husbands can just decide to disrespect wives and say, I want Carrie now, I want Samantha now. Oh, Rachel, just deal. Oh, Priya, I now want Amala. Just deal. Every woman in this country of all races, even though they are not partaking in the barbaric culture of polygamy of the black people, will be subjugated to the tyranny of its potential implications, even on them. It's coming at Indian women, colored women, blacks, everybody. And it is also disregarding the spiritual convictions of Christians in this country, or any other religion, if that's their model of marriage. And it is also disregarding our values of family in this nation, in a country that is the worst one to live in as women. It's full of gender-based violence. It's rife with STDs, HIV, gonorrhea, the clap, syphilis, whatever. So, I mean, a man that's just going to be given leg room by the government to just take whatever wife you want, what new wife want. When are we ever going to conquer the epidemic of HIV in the country? The pandemic now. When? Of just STDs doing their rounds in the country. Dispensing expensive ARVs, even after having our funding cut short. To just about everything and everyone, because everyone is busy contracting the virus, because men are out to taking more than one wife. Remember how in one of my other videos I said that the reason why kids are passing with such low marks in high schools is because they have brought down the pass mark. If you bumped it back up to 50% again, understand they will strive for it. So if you give men leg room to take a second wife, even those that would never have done it will start doing it. Under, however, listen, the common law. Now answer me this then, white people. If you love this country enough to stick around with your double boob in it, how are you not fighting for black women to come up from the incendiary rapacity of some of our black men? Some of our black men that want to make it nice and easy for them to cheat on us and claim that it's a marriage between him and us. How are you going to let the black government do that to us? How are you going to stand back and be like, look at them and all their polygamy? Listen, they're coming at you too. Because you also marry under the common law, don't you? They're coming at you too, white women. Your men are also going to have the potential, the possibility. It's there. They might not exploit it, but it's nonetheless there. So therefore, you're open to this risk. One day, all of a sudden, because the government, our great, crazy black culture stuffing, monstrous government, is thoroughly thinking that this here is a feasible outcome for us all. How long will it take for your men to strive for the mereness of a reduction in standards? How long? Because we as students in high school strove for the mereness of a 40% pass rate only because the government lowered it. We no longer strove for 50. Even though we could achieve it, we just didn't because, why work harder than we need to? So how long before white men also strive for the mereness of a law that allows for polygamy within the common law? Even your men will cheat on you too at some point. White people understand it's going to happen. Even your men will take second wives and thirds because the nation's law accommodates it. Men are rapacious people. We are born dead in trespasses and sins and innocence that our parents conceive us. There is nothing good under the sun. Our hearts are deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Therefore, there is no end as to what heinous abominations men can commit if they're given permission to do so. You will remember systematic oppression. There was a law that allowed white people to treat the rest of the country like trash. And did they not majority treat us like trash? They did. But as soon as the law was repealed and a new one was put up, enacted, did they not change their minds? They did. So listen, what you legislate is what you cause on the ground, is what I'm getting at. So the day when they polygamize common law marriages is the day when, look at the bizarre happenstance of white men out here taking 2-3 wives. What the heck is going on? Is this Joseph Smith or what? Are we is South Africa now a Mormon country? Is that what's going on? No, it's not. If you don't want to fight for your countries because you're semi-comfortable in them as segregated white people, what the heck? If you don't fight for black people too, if you don't fight for the rights of black women, you're not fighting for the majority, for the single biggest female demographic in the country. And seeing as we are the majority, your country is going to flop. It's going to fall apart. It's going to lose air like a balloon. It's going to be deflated like a balloon. That's like it's got a slow puncture in it. It's gonna come up shriveled up on the other side looking like a prude and very unseemly, though it has some kind of decent shape before you put air in it. Your nation is gonna be unrecognizable because you thought that you could completely ignore, disregard, leave out on a limb a woman that belongs to that demographic of people that are just so defeatist that they defecate where they eat. Do I defecate where I eat? Look at me living in a different country trying to reach my own country for sense. Because I tried to clean where I eat, but people defecated where I ate until I left and try to make them see that you can't keep doing that. Am I part of the reason why South Africa is suffering? Am I part of the problem? No, babies, I'm one of the solutions. I'm one of the best things that could have ever happened to this country, and yet you watched it, white people. You observed it. You merely functioned as a spectator and watched me get abused until I almost died, and then I had to leave. I was one of your best, but because of my skin color, I was disregarded as, listen, they do this to their own people. The more black people you leave to go in the diaspora because they are frustrated by black indiscretion, is the tighter around your ribcage that brassiere becomes, until never mind a double boob, but the breast comes out all together, popping out like a jack in the box. The more of me you let go in this country, the less and less fight amidst the biggest demographic in the country you have against these structures. If black people don't fight with you, seeing as we're the majority, you don't stand a chance. You need more of us on your side as black people. You need more of us that think right about what's going on with you, what they're doing with you. You need us. We make up the majority, and if I can convince a lot of black people for my rhetoric, you have already won a big victory of ideology for your side. I will have already participated in the liberation of your breasts, suffocating in that brassiere. I am the seamstress adding extra material to your tight bra. If I convince my own people to see where your pain is coming from, and you let me move, you let me go, but you love this country so much that you sat around chilling, swimming in a hammock, in a jacuzzi, with your tight bra. Okay. The more women or men like me of the skin tone that you let go, that you leave to walk out of the country, the less support you have, white people, for your cause of being now the new disadvantaged demographic that is being mistreated systematically by your government. We are advocates and protagonists for a movement to set you free from black tyranny against you. And you watched me go. Enough for me to look at you in amazement, baffled, befuddled as to why you're staying. It was so much harder for me to leave because I had nothing. I had to jump through hoops to try and get out. You, however, could maybe just plan it over maybe 6 months to a year and get your passports ready in great leisure and comfort without being as uncomfortable as I was all the way up until I finally succeeded to get out. And yet you don't go. So you show with that you want to stay. You love this place. Okay, good. You love your country. Good for you. Why then did you let me go? Because I was among the people that was going to make your life a lot easier in the future if I succeeded to convince my people for what is right. Because after all, do we not make up the majority of the country? Your nation is falling apart, South Africans, that even love it to a point of tightening yourselves with crazy squeezy brassieres. Because you don't take care of your own people, you don't love foreigners, and you also allow yourself to be infiltrated by crazy other cultures that don't make any kind of sense. And I'm tired enough to leave, but there are others that love you enough to endure breathlessness with a tight corset in spite of you. I can't get it. I don't get it. The whites left Mozambique, and look at it today. South Africa. Your whites still love it so much that they will disquiet themselves with private tuition for their children, even though they can't afford it. Some of them. They're not yet leaving in their droves. But we all know what happens when white people leave a country. And that nation is full of defeatist blacks. If anything, white people only leave a country if the blacks are defeatist. Largely, if the blacks are agreeable, they don't leave. Seeing as white folk are not yet leaving, there appears to be something salvageable about you. But I get it, they're chilling in corners of society, in dregs, with their tight bras. They're 5 seconds away from leaving finally. But guess who would have left first? Oh, look at that, surprise, surprise. Blacks. Look at South Africa lose its natives. Born and bred, originating, even ancestrally. Look at South Africa lose ancestral natives. As in, I can trace back my roots all the way back to my most cockified of cocos. Most ancestral of ancestors are from here. I'm one of those blacks that never left, that never got taken up slavery, that were never poached from the country. Been here all this time. 500 years ago, 700 years ago, 1200 years ago, been here all this time. That's my ancestry. I am a native ancestral South African, and I'm leaving. If South Africa loses that kind of thing, that kind of person, what nation do you have left exactly? Somebody please give me an answer. Why do you have left if your ancestral natives leave you too because you suck? We don't know. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. So what I'm getting at, white people, you can either keep taking your children out of black schools, out of schools that used to be diverse, and now make them like schools in the hood. You can either keep doing that, or you can be the change you want to see and bravely call out issues for what they are, but have enough tact and decorum in your speech to not offend the world like the way that Penny Sparrow did. Do not merely make like Vicky Momberg and say, I don't want to deal with black police officers, I can deal with colored, and I can deal with Indian, but don't bring me blacks. It's not going to do anything for you to run away from blacks until you take your children out and pay fees that are too expensive, because those blacks are not your problem, baby. It's the leadership that has made them live like rodents until they defecated the way they eat. Treat them better, love them, make like missionaries in a foreign country, out here wearing the CI, the uniform, the clothes, the cultural attire of that nation. And watch how, like Hudson Taylor, they got embraced in China finally and evangelized them. Immerse yourself amidst the blacks, understand where they're coming from, and fight to uproot the government as we know it. Yonkele ANC gotta go. Uproot even the present political parties that are apparently opposition to the ANC. I told you there is no valuable politician in this country, not even one. They all suck. There must be a I told you that the country's gonna get taken over it's gonna get destroyed by Gen Zs and then rebuilt by Gen Alpha and perhaps Beta. But you see, I'm always striving for an Nineveh moment in this deadbeat country, where you don't have to endure that kind of judgment, where you don't have to lose a country, where you don't have to lose national infrastructure, where you don't have to have statues brought down. Listen, I'm gonna give you some nuggets of South Africa. Do you understand? There was a gentleman by the name of there are gentlemen by the names of John Wesley and Charles Wesley brothers, and they were so prolific in evangelizing their England that they are credited by many scholars, even secular, for having contributed to why England did not endure a revolution like the French did. They made people righteous enough to peacefully transform their country, as opposed to take it by force. But the nation was at the precipice of a revolt, and as a result of men like John and Charles Wesley succeeding to evangelize their countries, and of course Whitfield, as a result of these people succeeding to evangelize England, them not enduring a revolution like the French Revolution caused them to ultimately be what we call now today the British Empire. They got big, they got huge, they prospered, they became a global superpower. They became a global superpower from where essentially even America would be born. It was from them, it was a breakaway from them. They succeeded to become a global power because of righteous men. Martin Luther is credited by philosophical scholars wise enough to put 2 and 2 together as having enabled democracy in Western civilization because of the Protestant Reformation. Made men righteous, realize that fighting like dogs is not going to do anything. The only time that you're going to get peace in the country is if you allow people to have a freedom of religion, choose who they want to worship. But this thing of trying to force Catholicism down anyone's throat, or even Protestant Christianity down anybody's throat, is not going to do anything for you. Don't fight. Love people. Try to evangelize them. If they don't want to get evangelized, dust your feet off. But you don't got to fight. You don't got to fight. Martin Luther was an advocate of that. He was a proponent and a protagonist of such a way of doing Christianity as that. And to a point where even secular scholars credit his ministry for the birth of democracy in Western civilization. What I'm getting at, and so telling you briefly stories nyana about Martin Luther and John and, well, the Wesley brothers, Charles and John. What I'm trying to get, and John and Whitfield as well. What I'm trying to explain to you, and so telling you some little nitbits about these men, is that they succeeded to evangelize vast patches of their countries. And so things like war was staged. Democracies were formed. What could have been a bloody outcome became a peaceful truce, a treaty, if you will. Therefore, if this here nation that is South Africa is facing a revolution, I told you, Gen Zs are going to break down your buildings. They're going to out here burn streets, Molotov cocktail, presidential mansions, and get in there and swim in presidential swimming pools like the people of Sri Lanka. There's going to be barbed wire fencing around the union buildings because of how much people are riotous. And the nation will be unrecognizable. I also told you prophecies where I saw there being no food on our FMCG shelves. Essentially, go to spa and food schmoot. I told you about a dream that I got where, just like in the days of COVID, there were queues outside of stores, snake-like, because of people not being allowed to go inside the stores as a result of social distancing. But it was reversed, where it is that the queues were inside the store and food was caged, and people were not allowed to buy more than a certain quantity of a certain grocery item. And if they were going to buy more, they had to prove that they had a family of 12, for instance. And this is because of just how little food there was on our shelves. We are an agricultural beast as a country. We can farm for days. We have a lot of naturally grown fruit on our own shores. We've got rooibos. We've got the wine fields in Cape Town. We can grow apples, potatoes, bananas right here on our shores. And that is why we are blessed, unlike South Korea. Unlike Asia, period, where our fruit are decently priced. Our fruit are cheap. If a person is struggling to eat, if at all they've got a diet of fruit, they're good to go. Because fruit are cheap in this country. Very cheap. Especially if you buy them in bulk. But there are countries like South Korea where they've got such a hilly land. I came to learn that it's very hard to farm over there too. And so their farmers, the little land that they do have to farm, they can't scale. And so because they can't scale, they can't reduce the price of these fruits that they're growing and these veggies that they're growing. They can't reduce the prices of them because of just the sheer volumes that they sell. Because there aren't volumes. Because there is not enough farmland for everybody. And South Korea is already a very small country. So while they've got high quality fruit and it is there in abundance, it is nonetheless very expensive because of this here issue. And it's not just fruits, but also vegetables. I can't fathom buying an apple for $1. Convert the dollar to rand. Imagine buying one meager apple for a cool 27 bucks. I mean, you would faint. But that is a reality in Korea. So fruit are a luxury. Their diet is quite healthy. But there's not much fruit. There's not much produce in it. I wonder, how do you get all your vitamin C? It's likely because of takeaway restaurant food where they can afford to, I guess, spread one strawberry between 4 orders. And so it makes sense for them. And because they buy in bulk, they'll probably get smaller, lower prices. So perhaps if you buy takeouts, you can get your vegetables in a takeout. You can get your fruit in a dessert. But if you're going to have a bowl of fruit in your kitchen, who are you? Perhaps Oppenheimer. Maybe you're Elon Musk in there. What do you call this? In South Korea. The situation is so intense over there with fruits and vegetables that people get given fruits and vegetables on anniversaries, on birthdays. Like somebody buying you a whole Nike sweater, perhaps, for your birthday, because you've always wanted one. This Nike sweater of which cost them a cool 2,300 rand at the store. And that's your birthday gift, but like, it's a bowl of fruit. I mean, I think 2,300 might be a little bit of an exaggeration. Well, no, actually, I mean, if you're gonna be like, listen, I saw a video of this one chick in Japan buying an apple for $1. And they had packaged this apple so cutely in this, like, its own little encasement. Because one little apple is just such a gem over there. I mean, can Asia lag so much farmland when it's so big? I mean, China is mammoth. I don't know. I don't think fruit are expensive in China per se, but I do know they're expensive in Japan and in South Korea. Maybe it's because they're, I don't know, their country, like it's hilly. You try planting like a vineyard on a hill. I don't know, that's like upward, like just, yeah, I guess it's not feasible. And then in terms of imports, they could import, like, and to indeed increase scale. But they don't want their farmers over there to lament and riot because they're trying to keep the country in peace. So they're giving the farmers their daily bread and are not importing as much. And those fruits that don't grow in that terrain, those are the only ones imported. Things like mangoes. And because they're imported more so, are you then going to pay an arm and a leg? So it's not like you're not going to find fruit in Korea. You're just not going to get them very cheaply. But in this country, your bananas are cheap, your oranges, your watermelon are out to be retailing for a cool $25. I am not lying. I was watching this vlog of this one guy showing us the price of watermelon. He didn't buy it. He was just letting us ogle, gaze at this like very pricey fruit. But it's not in my country. In South Africa, I grew up eating watermelon every summer. My grandmother bought it because we can source it and easily grow it in our country with our conditions. We are blessed. We are a land flowing with milk and honey, and much of Africa is blessed with such farmable land. But look at what you're doing to farmers in this country who are white, and look at how you feel entitled to their land. Look at what happened in Zimbabwe, farmable land. Mugabe took all the white people's land, and then the country went into famine because nobody could farm. Who are the black people who then ended up owning that land? It's not that the land can't be farmed. It's not that the land can't bring forth fruit. It's that the government made sure that that is a thing. And so people go hungry. When your governments are corrupt, it doesn't matter how much farmable land you have, how easily you can grow watermelons and peaches and apples and bananas, nectarines and pomegranates, grapes, rooibos. It doesn't matter how much vast land that is flat that you can drive through in South Africa. It is a potential farm hub, garden route, going to Cape Town. There was this one chick whose channel I started watching on YouTube that's married to a guy from South Korea, from South Africa, however, who teaches English, who taught English, but then she ended up stopping teaching because she got married and life took a different turn for her. So she's no longer teaching. And I watched one of her vlogs, and in one of her vlogs, her husband, her Korean husband, came to South Africa and they recorded themselves driving through, our landscape. And one of the comments that he made to his wife was, y'all have got so much veldt, so much bush, you've got so much forest. He said that there's so much forest, there's so much flat terrain. He might as well have translated that over to be, you've got so much farmable land. And I remember being like, yeah, we ain't never gonna run out of bananas over here unless there is a famine, unless there is a drought. Sorry. When you can export fruit to Korea, because you have it, when you can sell your fruit cheaply to your people, where one apple is R2.50, not $1. If you're gonna buy one apple, you might buy for R2 or R2.50. And even then, that's a little bit expensive. If you go to downtown Johannesburg, you will find the same apple being sold by street vendors for maybe R1.50. So depending on where you buy it. If you insist on going to Woolworths, maybe you might buy 4 apples for 25 rands. Or $30. But in Korea, 1 apple is $30. One, dog. And even then, even if you go to a fruit market of vendors on the street, it's $30. If you go to a Woolies type store, just don't. It's that basic. Don't. Don't. I won't even ask. Don't go to Woolies. Don't buy fruit at a Woolies type store in Korea. Unless you are Elon Musk. So what I'm getting at is that every country has its things, but one thing that Africa is blessed with is farmable land. Why are your farmable countries poor and hungry? Why on this continent that has got so much daylight for photosynthesis, hungry? Yes, we've got dry patches of land because the continent is hot and sometimes it doesn't rain, but do you not think that it doesn't rain because God is staying rain from you because you're so pagan? Rain comes from God. How in the world is Africa hungry when it's got so much farmable land? And how is Africa unresourced when it's got so many minerals? Our leadership is crazy. But you see, it is precisely because of all this farmable land, all these rooibos fields, that white folk aren't leaving because they're lucrative. So they're holding on with their tight brassiers to the country because it has potential. But potential is nothing when there are so many barriers to entry, when there are so many inconsistencies is not the right word, but the word that I was looking for over there is inefficiencies. When there are so many inefficiencies, it's pointless. You're never ever gonna win. You can see the potential of winning a jackpot. That's 10 million rand strong. But if you don't put in the right coin in that slot machine at the right time, the casino just won't let you win. Is that basic? So whether or not you can see the potential of winning a 10 million rand jackpot is irrelevant. Bottom line is you won't win for as long as the casino owner or the casino in general won't let a person win unless it is the 2,000th person to play on that slot machine. That's the only one that they're gonna let win. So you gotta hope to be the 2,000th person that is there at the right time because the system is rigged. When you've got a system that so ascertains that only certain people can get wealthy when there is potential for wealth making by everybody and so therefore for the country. When a nation has got systems in place to prevent certain people from making it even though they try really hard. You're living in a dystopia where you can't even guarantee that you're going to be customer number 2,700 at this casino. It's a gamble. You may or may not make it because your government is going to basically determine whether or not you do. And if you're on the receiving end of you don't get to make it, you're going to be a whole gift, an intelligent, genius species, something of a marvel to gaze at like Arabo, and yet nonetheless be unemployed for 12 years entirely. Until you have to live in another country. I am a gem to the country, but they don't care. I'm like an apple that grows on their farms, but is allowed to fall to the ground, wither, and make for maggot food on that ground. I am potential, nourishment for a nation that is letting maggots eat me. And that's why I left. So white folk, unless you fight, of course there are varying degrees of defeatism on the part of Indians and coloreds, but white people, you are the ones on the diametrically opposite extreme. Pertaining treatment by your government. You are the most unfairly treated by our government. While we as black people are the most apparently unfairly benefited by a government that evidently has not favored us, only some of us. So seeing as we are at two opposite extremes, I'm lamenting as a black person that is apparently allegedly at an advantage in this country. They spat me out and let me get eaten by maggots. And you're a white person that can't exactly exploit that slot machine at the casino, though you see its potential. Both of us are at an impasse with a country that won't let people succeed. So, what we gonna do? White folk that think that you can leave black folk in a country that is majority black out on a limb. I don't care anymore what you do because I'm leaving. But I'm only doing this because I guess I care, like Beyonce. I know you don't care too much, but I still care. And that's why I'm talking to you from a foreign country. What are you gonna do? I don't know. Make a decision, okay? But whatever decisions you're making today are not gonna yield any fruit, and all I can be is a voice of reason at the present moment. And then as for Indians, they've got generational wealth everywhere they go. They are to be setting up shop and succeeding. But nah, boy, they've also got a white mindset to a certain extent. In that, listen, go and destroy yourself, but as Indians, we're gonna stick to each other. Congratulations, at least you got family right. But you do live in a country, Indians, you too, where you are still a minority in comparison to the biggest single demographic in the country. If you allow black people to die because they're so defeatist, this is your country. It's going to ride. It's going to cough out blood. It's going to wheeze like a geriatric with emphysema and then finally pass away from asphyxiation as a result of just cluttered lungs with phlegm. It's going to die from a virus called devastatingly defeatist government. So, Charo, you can stick to your fellow Charo, but baby, you are living in Africa and it's full of blacks. Whether or not you're upset or picking a controversy with how defeatist we are is irrelevant. This is your country, and in it you can't afford to ignore the biggest population in it. That means your whole country falls apart. Where are you gonna go? Are you gonna make like white people? And ultimately, after your brassiere is tight enough with now a triple boob, you've got now this like incendiary triple boob Indians in the country, and some of y'all already went to Australia. You know that, right? You went to Australia. You did. Remember after those lootings in Durban, you went to Australia. So those are y'all that stuck around because you love the country. You need to severely rebuke black people instead of merely just sticking together charter with charter. It's your country and you can't afford to ignore these people because they make up the majority of it. Blacks. You can't ignore us. And those of us that agree that something gotta change, you also can't afford to keep losing us. And you've already lost me. So unless you rebuke black people like a grandmother rebuking a child that has come back home at 7:30 at night after being given a curfew of 5 p.m. dirty like a dustbin from playing in the street. And then instead of, it's bad enough that they came home late, but now because they're so exhausted, bushed from all of their playing, they then decide that they want to go straight to sleep and then hop into newly changed bed linen, parts of which is white, with those grubby paws and claws in the bed. You need to rebuke black people like the way that a decent grandmother with a real Kasi upbringing would take that child out of those blankets, spank the living daylights out of that kid with his body still burning from the spanking, right next to all the mosquitoes that bit him when he was outside, then dunk him in a hot bath full of bubble water that is going to make him itch even more from the mosquitoes and the beating, and scrub him, and as he's busy wiping snot, he's however getting nice and clean, and then make that same child take all that bed linen, put it in the washing machine and change it, and then only sleep. You need to rebuke black people like that gassy grandmother that's going out here, run a hot, and by hot I don't mean scorching or piping, don't kill a child now, but warm enough to wash their bodies. But y'all know how hot water feels if you've been outside near some mosquitoes. It burns. It burns. Because the part where the mosquitoes then nibbled away at you is still kind of sensitive. So if you dive into a hot bath after a mosquito shower, you will feel that mosquitoes were all up in your grill drinking you whole like some vampires. So put this child in that hot water. And unless you rebuke black people like that kid that is being scrubbed and is made to change their bed linen after they mire it, unless you rebuke black folk like that, unless you rebuke them like that, you will also lose your country. You will also go to Australia. You will at some point either maybe you might even go back to India, get in touch with your roots. But you will leave. I'm already tired. I'm not staying. But people like me, that you, like I said, I'm an ancestral native. People like me that you left to leave, watched go. You will wish you had never done it because we were among the sober voices that got where you all were coming from. Because black people, when they're in their black groupthink, that hive mindset, listen, there's nothing you can do to break it up. When they're out here swarming around like some wasps in the ether, you cannot tell them, listen, it is not sound and savory to carry on like this. They will come at you and call you all different kinds of crazy trash. They will call you racist. They will maintain a wretched disposition about themselves. They will spit in your face. They might even beat you up, maybe kill you, simply because you dare stand up against what they're trying to do. So if you've got a black person that can speak like a horse whisperer, but instead of it being a horse, it's a wasp whisperer. If you can get to a black person that can be a wasp whisperer to a swarm of wasps to calm them down and cause them to see where everybody else is coming from, you don't have anything. We are your bridge to them all. Because black folk can never ever speak out against anything. Black folk will never listen to anyone saying anything unless it's another black person. They're just recalcitrant and stubborn to hear what other people gotta say because they feel so victimized by everybody. Though nobody even sees where that victimization is coming from, especially in a largely homogeneously black society like Africa. Nobody knows why black Africans are so mad at the colonizer when the majority black. They've only ever grown up amidst other black people, but they're still mad at white people. You can't understand why the anger of black people against whites is so rife, especially in Africa. Largely they have not even endured so much racism or segregation, mistreatment, just unfair whatever from, in particular, the people that they hate. Even when their governments fall apart, they blame it on the colonizer, they blame it on white people, they blame it on what white people did to us before. Black people love to blame everybody else for their issues except for them, even in a homogeneously black society. Nobody can get to any of that other than another black person. Because as a white person, you're always going to be coming in with that white coat around your body, like some cat fur and not reach them. You're gonna sound like an animal talking, like a cat talking. You're going to sound. You're gonna sound like a neighbor's dog barking, annoying you. Even though for good cause that dog is barking because there is an intrusion in the yard. But to a black person, when you try to rebuke them for indiscretions committed by blacks, as a non-black, you sound like a barking dog of the neighbor. You're just irritated. They just get irritated, annoyed, don't understand why you don't just shut up. When, like I said, there is an intruder in the yard. There is good cause for this dog to bark, but nobody cares because you're loud. Neighbors don't care because you're loud. Neighbors don't care because you're loud. That's how black people receive stimuli coming from whites and Indians, especially whites. Coloreds might have it a little bit easier with black people because portions of them kind of feel black too to black people, but non-whites, like Indians and whites, when they try to talk to black people about what's going on with us, don't get it. You need me. You need me to be a wasp whisperer because I can whisper successfully and so tame black people that don't listen to whites for no other reason but the fact that they're holding a bias. So losing me is the worst thing that can ever happen to you white people and Indians in a country that you're staking around in, even though it's becoming increasingly uninhabitable for you. I am your best way out. A native black ancestrally in a country full of people that are destroying it, that however won't listen to you, explain that to them unless you look like them. And even then, if you look like them, because you look like them, they might try to marry you first. They might try to sleep with you first. They might try to cajole you, talk you down first. They might try to make you realize that black people belong to black people. What's with you an interracial marriage? They might try to convince you that black people belong to black people. What's with you with interracial friendship? They might try to call you an Uncle Tom. They might try to essentially label you all different kinds of sobriquets and epithets until you lament on a rooftop, cry for so long, annoyed by their sexual harassment and inappropriate response to your very serious matters, that you eventually took your bags and left while they were busy trying to holler at you, while they were busy trying to hook you up with a job through sex, while they were busy trying to completely disregard that you have a very important thing to say, but you just so happen to be at least sexy as you're talking about things that I don't agree with. They'll be a lot gentler with me, however very inappropriate, until I get so annoyed that I will leave to another country and then try again. So if the only black whisperers, essentially, are black, maybe colored, you can't afford to ignore black people when they've got the same issues as you. We live in a majority black country. You need black whisperers. You need wasp whisperers that are operating in a group think. And as one of the wasp whisperers, I'm leaving because I'm tired of the fact that black people think that when you speak a thing that is relevant to speak, insofar as you've got lady parts, I'll listen to what you have to say. Insofar as you give me a chance, I'll take you out on a date. They just holla. They have, listen, I'm tired. But perhaps if I leave South Africa, I will wasp whisper from a foreign country. And then maybe on that day, just how serious their disregard of my person and my human rights was might cause them to then start listening to me as a wasp whisperer. But I was able to get enough information in for them to frown on themselves for doing what they did to me for all these years. Do you understand what I'm saying? You lost me, South Africa, but maybe I can wasp whisper from another country. But white people, you're not going to get this country. I can't say back because according to black people, you've never had it. You're not going to succeed to be awarded respect as you need for as long as you don't allow yourselves to get uncomfortable. And so speaking out against certain things and calling a spade because how long are black people going to call the race card every time you complain against them? Call a spade a spade. And the same thing is also true with Indians and perhaps coloreds. Call a spade a spade. Because absent of you doing that, there will not be enough black people sobering up, enough for there to be a fighting chance for a country to overwhelm this crazy government that just won't budge. My last video, my exit video in my last ministry, I was out here lamenting against Cyril Ramaphosa after being found wanting with his whole pala pala thing, singing, I'm not going, yeah, Jennifer Hudson in Dreamgirls. I'm telling you, I'm not going. I'm like the brazen audacity to tell South Africans that you're going to love me no matter what. That whole structure must be uprooted. But it will not get uprooted for as long as the ANC is either feared by black people or strangely supported, even though they are the ruin and the rot of the country. You're not going to win black people over by thinking they must also transfer over to the DA because they look at the Democratic Alliance as a white party veiled in a black cloak. They don't trust it. You have to divorce yourselves essentially from politics and just fix the country by any means necessary, rolling up your own sleeves.